A decade of contract cheating, examining the changes that have been made to the marketplace for bespoke essays. My name is Thomas Lancaster, and this is a recording of a talk I developed to deliver live at the Coventry University Conference in June 2016. The talk looks at a lot of the changes that I've observed in contract cheating, that is, students paying or using other people to do their work for them over the past 10 years since I started working on this subject. And I decided it was too interesting not to share some of these findings with the wider world, which is why I've recorded this video version for you. And there have been a lot of changes, particularly into the way that the sites are publicising themselves and marketing themselves. So I've mentioned what contract cheating is. A slight joke on this slide, I've called it so-called contract cheating, which is one of the terms that's been used quite a lot in the media when defining this academic misconduct practice there. But nowadays the media is a bit more on side and very keen to use the term contract cheating, which is good because this is the term we use. And just to again go through this definition, we're looking at the behaviour when a student uses a third party, the third party produces a piece of totally original work for the student. So it might be an original essay, it might be an original computer program, it might be any number of pieces of work. It might be a business plan for a business module, whatever it might be. And usually money changes hands, because usually contract cheating involves paying people, particularly with the access to online sites. But not always. We've also observed occasions when someone uses a friend or family member to help them with contract cheating. Now, you may think this would never happen. Students would never buy an essay or get help. But let's see what happens with Google when a student looks for help and they type in write essay. They get all these different suggested search terms popping up straight away. Things like write essay for me, so implying they're going to buy it. And perhaps more interestingly enough, write essays for money. People looking to write the essays for students, because I've seen it as a potentially lucrative business, and of course in the UK we get people looking specifically for UK information. So all these temptations are there, and I'll show you more as we go through this talk about why students would cheat. Now, I said this presentation is about a 10-year focus, and that's because I've been working on contract cheating really for over 10 years, but it's almost 10 years to the day, June 2016, recording this, when I gave my first talk referring to the term contract cheating. And because I've looked at this industry heavily over the past 10 years, I've spotted all the changes and increasing sophistication around the cheating industry, helping students to get qualifications they don't deserve. If you do want to join in, then you'll be able to access the live chats from the conference using the #contractcheating and #CUCBF hashtags. I recommend that you use the @contractcheating hashtag, which I monitor regularly, and you can join in, ask questions. I'm more than happy to engage. I love seeing people who are interested and want to improve the problems in this area as well. So I've used this term 10 years or a decade for some time, and so for me, working as an academic and seeing all this money changing hands, has this really been 10 years watching other people become wealthy? Well, I think quite frankly it has, and in this 10 years, then to tell you a bit about myself, I've really been researching contract cheating and working in lecturing, particularly in computer science areas. I teach a bit of maths as well, and various other areas of interest now, such as employability, entrepreneurship, and a huge amount of social media type stuff to help students to get jobs. But my background working on plagiarism actually dates back to 2000, because I studied my PhD between 2000 and 2003 looking at plagiarism detection before I moved even more into the market for original work, the type of work that's not detected as plagiarized using services such as Turnitin. And in 2016 I joined Coventry University, where I currently work as the Associate Head of School in Computing, Electronics and Mathematics, particularly focused on marketing and recruitment there. So I'm very interested in the experience that students get as well during their studies. A little admission before we go on is that unfortunately I didn't subscribe to my um, my own methods there. I made these slides myself, so there you go. Even though I claim to be entrepreneurial, of course, really I should be using all these other services, but it's so passionate about this area, I couldn't use a third party to make these slides, even if it would be a financially sensible solution to do so. I mean, that may be of interest later on. I do also want to pay quick thanks to my colleague Robert Clark, who I worked with for many years at Birmingham City University. He's still my research associate. He's still a good friend of mine there. Bob has spent a lot of his time helping to track down attempts by students to cheat that we found online. So a lot of our early research based around sites where all the requests by students to cheat were visible, and even though a lot more of this stuff now is underground and harder to track, Bob has collected over 30,000 attempts made by students wanting to cheat, which I really think deserves a medal in its own right. And he's helped make many academics happy by notifying them that their work has been appearing online there. And also responsible for stopping many students around the world getting degrees that they don't deserve. It's incredible, really, what Bob has done for education as a whole. So I to think about the 10 years, and Monday 19th of June 2016 was the date I gave my first conference presentation on contract cheating there. And a few days before, I was really busy because I was busy fielding off all kinds of telephone calls and questions from various media sources around the world. I was involved with worldwide radio, worldwide news. Here's just a couple of examples, and I put these in here really to look at how contract cheating was originally perceived. And my work there, University of Central England, it's the university became known as Birmingham City University. There, BBC News picked up on this very quickly, and we were looking at the students who were putting their work on the internet, and then people were placing bids for the opportunity to do that work for them. This was on the front page of the Daily Telegraph as well. I'm not going to tell you what page of the Daily Star this was featured on. You may want to track down the issue, but it's certainly not a screenshot or a photo I'd want to put in the talk. But I mean, the Daily Telegraph piece talks about me finding my own work online, which I certainly did there, but it certainly also wasn't the first time that I was aware of this type of behaviour going on, because it did feed into my PhD as well. But lots of interest in the whole area of contract cheating, particularly students going to this auction-like process now. And this was the original paper, eliminating the successor to plagiarism, identifying the usage of contract cheating science. And I think many of the ideas in that paper are still very relevant, even though the methods that students are using to get work done have perhaps become even more involved, even more hidden from view. There are still similar services being used to this day to the site we used in that paper, which was this one, rentacoder.com. Now, Rentacoder no longer exists in that form. It's been merged, taken over. The current version is called freelancer.com, and this was the example from Rentacoder that I included in my original presentation slides in June 2006. It was a request to outsource a collage project. Not to comment on the spelling, but essentially this is a technical assignment, somebody wanting to create a system helping a company to sell things online there. And yeah, this is still available online now. You can look this example up. But people bid to complete this work, and I didn't have this data in the original presentation or the original paper, but these are the bids that came in, and I think it's quite interesting to look at these now with 10 years of hindsight, because there are still sites like this, and many of the same countries are still bidding. You can probably see there that 7 bids out of 15 workers really desperate to do this work from India. And I've done many interviews with the Indian media as well about why so many Indian people are involved in this on my YouTube channel and on my blog, thomaslancaster.co.uk/blog. There's a particular look as well at the Indian workers involved in this, but other countries as well, including Egypt, Pakistan, Nepal, Afghanistan, the Philippines, Australia, United States, United Kingdom. And we can't guarantee that all those workers are actually in those countries, because sometimes it looks good to suggest you're an American worker if somebody from America is asking for the work to be done, But in this case, I'm fairly confident these are a good set of examples, and the amount that people want to do that work, anywhere from 85 US dollars to 170 US dollars. I'm not sure what the exchange rate was at that time, but I'm going to take a guess at sort of maybe £50 to £100. So not bad value to get what looked like quite a sophisticated assignment done for the student. And that's a whole benefit, that people have to actually make an effort and bid to be allowed to do this work. Contract cheating can be coveted work for some of those countries there, or for people who can do this work easily, then this can also be very good money. This was another site I covered. This is Elizabeth Hall Associates, June 2006. This is what her website looked like, based in Birmingham, not far from where I'm based, and a very professional looking site talking about all the different ways that you can get help with your work. But it did still say the key bullet point there: deliver high quality, original and unique writing with full footnotes and references. Now, Elizabeth Hall is still going today. Here's the site you can see now. You may notice it's a bit more sophisticated. The marketing is so much more advanced than it was then, and now they're advertising. We give you plagiarism proof scripts, so it's really important. And it says we do not need to offer you a payment guarantee of £1,000 if caught. Some sites do, but they don't. They just say the important thing: in 15 years our work has never been detected there. And we also look at the kind of services: ghostwriting of academic work. I believe they do academic papers, for research papers for journals, etc., as well as the standard undergraduate, postgraduate level work, dissertations and various others. And one of the crucial areas that's been a real development in the last few years: MBA level work. Lots of people who want their MBA, they don't want to do the work for it because they need the MBA for some other purpose. And it's sites like this that are helping. Now, you may look at that sophistication and say, does that work? I think it doesn't only work, it's necessary. I attended a conference just last week about startup companies, helping companies get started, and this was one of my tweets from the conference there, which was actually seen thousands of times, this particular tweet. It's amazing how tweets can circulate when they have rich investors involved in the tweet, as that one did. But one of the main conclusions from this is that 10 years ago, or a few years ago, you could just have a fancy looking website and people would buy from you and trust you. Nowadays it has to have a bit more to it, and I think that's really what the Elizabeth Hall example indicates. And so many essay writing services have moved to similar sophistication in the way they present their sites. Now, this was all happening 10 years ago, so surely it's not a problem now. We've raised the warning. Well, sadly not, and in fact nowadays much of the interest and the media attention just says that this type of behaviour is totally normal and there's nothing surprising about it at all. And the questions now are moving on to ones like this piece in the Daily Telegraph recently, which was really looking, partly prompted by some of the work I've been doing, at the money behind the essay industry, and this is where all the marketing comes in. And I mean, it's really interesting there that for many years there have been quotes going around of the essay industry being worth in the tens of millions. The quote the Daily Telegraph got is £100 million, the current value. Now, I must admit, and I'm quoted in this piece, I think that's probably an underestimate, because I know that some of the big essay writing firms are easily putting £10 million or more each through their own system. So you only need to add up a few of those and some of the smaller firms, and I think you quickly exceed £100 million. So there is a huge amount of money. This is not a toy business. Think about £100 million in comparison to the size of the overall educational market. Yes, it may be a fraction, but it's still a substantial fraction there. So the big question is then, what has changed in 10 years? What's so different now? Why are more students seem to be cheating? Or why is cheating so much more visible? Well, it's just because it's more blatant. Now, cheating really got big with the growth of students' access to services online. Before that, there was a small amount of cheating, but it was all hidden away offline. Small adverts, you know a friend who will do this for you. Well, this is starting to go full circle. The adverts are appearing offline in the real world, but much more visible than they ever were before. This is a big marketing campaign that appeared in London Underground early 2016. I think somewhere in the region of 50 big photos. I saw this particular photo and grabbed this picture at Euston Square Station, which is right near major London University there, and apparently these appeared near other sites as well. And you can see standard marketing there, very happy looking, I'd like to say student, but maybe an older student there. But it's pretty clear what you get, and some great marketing points in there. The trust factor, trusted by 10,000 plus students. It seems ridiculously huge number, doesn't it? But there you go, and 20% off there as well. So this campaign actually went through several versions. There's different variants of that poster, like a good marketing campaign has, when they tried and tested things and improved it. And the only reason this campaign is no longer up is because the Radio 4 PM program got involved. I know several people who tried to get in touch with Transport for London didn't get very far. It really took the PM program to make a difference there, and Transport for London say they have reviewed the type of material that they will display in the future. But clearly it's offline funnels work. Here's a perhaps slightly more simplistic style of advertising, but these are at least 7 different flyers hung up on lampposts in the 5-minute walk between a railway station and West Midlands University. I'm not going to say which one, but these were photos taken by a student of mine, and these were just on the route he took. There were many more around, and I actually got another photo, completely independent source of those. This was several days up, and you'll see the tear-off strips, just in case you need help remembering the web address in this case. It's not like a lost cat type lamppost post that has those as well. And actually I've seen this company advertise in London as well, and I've seen various versions of this poster. This is actually slightly more sophisticated than some of the other ones they put up in the past. But this offline advertising works, and it's really making a difference there. There's all kinds of other offline advertising I've seen, but I just want to focus on a few examples in this talk. And now this offline advertising is really making a difference and driving the online advertising. I'm not expecting it to be very long before I start hearing radio adverts for cheating sites, as that's the way the industry is going. Companies can really afford to advertise. They're making that much money. Now, I said cheating has gone offline, but it's certainly developed online as well, with all kinds of new ways to get students to cheat. And I think we'll start off with the big site, the one the students use. They all know about Facebook. And here are various examples of adverts that either one of my former students or I have seen on Facebook, neither of which follow any of these sites directly, but they clearly advertise based on target demographics. So the first 3 there, taken from the mobile Facebook app, are presumably targeted based on the common student profile. And you can see some quite clever advertising in there. I'm not going to spell it out to you, but some quite amusing ones there as well, but clearly working. All kinds of discounts there, encouraging people they don't need to work hard at university, offering plagiarism free work. The example at the bottom left was one I saw in a student Facebook group. It's actually one that I was heavily involved with because it's helping students to gain technical skills and get jobs, and those things were posted straight on there. So bottom one there is free advertising, the other ones they're paid for. And quite interestingly enough, that clearly the student who posted this, that several people on his friends list liked these particular services, and that's just a very small sample. I've grayed out the names just to avoid implicating them, because of course it doesn't show they use the service, but there you go. And there are all kinds of groups now that have sprung up where these companies advertise off their main website. Here are just a few of them, and you'll see some huge numbers of likes, over 10,000, over 9,000, some slightly smaller ones as well. Some of these look legitimate, but actually all of these will create assignments for students. They'll do their essays, they'll do their assignments for them. And there's some good content in those groups just to help to funnel people towards the sites as well. You notice that I found one of my friends who liked one of these sites, who I've taken their name out to avoid implicating them as well. Again, I've no evidence that they use the site, but it does show you how widespread these type of sites are just into the just into the common world of people in general. It's not just Facebook, here's Twitter. Here is an example I observed not long ago, and these kind of ones go up all the time. Somebody has posted, willing to pay someone to do my research paper, and 46 minutes later they got this advert here, putting important selling points in there, no plagiarism, very quickly. And you can get people posting sort of less blatant attempts to cheat than that one. And I'm not even sure that was a blatant attempt to cheat. It was just somebody getting frustrated with their workload and getting answers back, and also getting offers through private messages as well, and not always visible on Twitter like this one. Now, there wasn't just one offer there that Chrysaor got. These are all the different offers that sprung up within 46 minutes of this tweet going up, and I suspect there was more conversation went on beyond these. And you can see different companies offering to do the work for this student, and after that you can even see a negotiation going on that the price is too expensive. Eventually the offer is $30. That's about £20 to do this essay for the student. Starting price $8 per page. So people again are very desperate to get this work. They're trying to pull work in, and they don't have a lot of money to do it. There may be an economy in the world where they don't need a lot of money to do this. I've mentioned essays a lot in this session so far, and the traditional style of essay mills, but really things are starting to develop from the online websites just advertising, go to us, we'll write your essay, that were common and becoming more common 10 years ago. And really things have started to change a lot in terms of the way that sites are marketed. No longer do you just see sites advertising essays, you now see more sophisticated sites like this one, which is advertising nursing essays. So things are becoming very niche, and you want your nursing essay done, you can go to a site like this one. You'll see the potentially happy looking nurses there, along with various other information about this. I've recorded several other videos and got other information available, particularly about cheating in nursing, but these sites are becoming targeted at particular academic disciplines as well. And clearly this is funneling more people in. And is it that nurses are more likely to cheat? I don't know, but they'll certainly come across more of these sites if they are indeed looking for help writing a nursing essay. There are also sites targeting a particular demographic. So this is actually quite a famous site in the cheating world. This was an Australian-based site. I know it may look like it's in Chinese, but this was actually hacked into, or the information inside this site was acquired by the Sydney Morning Herald, and they found a lot of examples of international students in Australia who were getting all of their assignments done one after another using this service. And there are certainly sites aimed at particular communities, some of them very hard to access if you only speak English, and they're helping certain groups of students cheat. And this is the kind of story, again, the media has picked up on many times as being one that we need to look out for when we're in a UK education market that is very much dependent on bringing in international students to it as well. And I mentioned it's not just essays. There are other types of assignments out there, and services are really extending. This is an essay mill advertising many other services. I've just picked out a few of them there. Things like they will mark your work and give you feedback about how well you've done based on general criteria. They'll help you particularly with law. Another area we'd hope that people would be more honest about. They'll help you revise for exams. They'll provide with model exam answers, personalised lesson plans. There are sites that go beyond this, incidentally, and will even go as far as trying to take your exam for you, a different form of contract cheating. They'll prepare your slides for you for a presentation, complete with speaker notes. And if you think about doing an assignment and asking people to reflect on it to show what they've learned as a method of making sure they've done it, they've got that covered. They will do reflective practice. Quite often it's fairly formulaic as well. Let's take a look at one of those examples in more detail. This is a PowerPoint service. So let's say I'm from the UK. I would like a 25 slide presentation in 7 days, undergraduate 2-1 standard, that's 60 to 69%. Then their price they charge you at this particular site is £760. So earlier on I asked, maybe I should have paid someone to do this, and I could have paid my £760, got my talk back with my speaker notes and just gone and presented that. Well, I think I've probably done much better doing that myself, but I can tell you this is a relatively expensive site. You can get your slides, your talk written for you far cheaper than that if you know what you're doing, but that is a whole method or a whole discussion for another talk. There's also money moving around outside the essay mill itself. It's amazing that only a very small percentage of the money goes to the person writing the essay. Most of it gets filtered off somewhere along the way. And one way now that's become really dominant in the past few years is by paying people commissions if they send referral traffic. They send people to buy an essay to a particular site. So this particular example I've got here will pay 25% of the order price if you send them 200 monthly sales. So that's a quarter of the price going out there, and they have different options as well. For instance, another option they have is that you can essentially have a clone of their site running with your own name and your own branding, but actually they do all the work. And so you can imagine now the huge amount of effort going in, even outside of the main sites writing essays, to send traffic to the sites in order for people to make their commissions. And I mean, this is just the same model that people do to encourage you to buy a product from Amazon as opposed to somewhere else, and they get their few percent commission based on what you purchase, but it's just working towards the student market. And there are all these sites springing up now, like these review sites, which claim to give you reviews about different essay companies, clearly looking at them all really as being 5 stars, although there is an exception there towards the right. But I suspect you will find, if you drill down into this, that actually these are all sites paying a good commission, and the ones getting 5 stars pay the best commission, because it's all about driving that traffic and making money based on helping students to cheat there. Now, you may think they're the only people who are involved in this chain. We've got lots of them, but really helping students to cheat now is a coveted career, and people are literally desperate to become these facilitators. Now, I'll start off with a slightly simple example. These are adverts from LinkedIn from a couple of years ago now, but similar things appear all the time. These were 4 jobs available in London, working for a firm called the PhD Consultancy, which is still there and seemingly doing well. A firm helping people to get their PhD, expanding around the world. You can see the different quite important looking job titles available, like academic directors, writers, editors, writer relationships manager, and this seems to be a big business now. They're paying pretty well for people in these jobs. I suspect not quite so well for the writers, but these are the kind of benefits, and I have whole job descriptions from this because this is a legitimate business as far as a company is concerned, and a few things that I certainly don't get. I would love my free coffees, juice fruit, and homemade cakes there, along with other things. So actually they're trying to attract people from academia who want to go and see the other side, and clearly that has happened in a number of essay writing companies and contract cheating services. There are also sites that will just pay you to write. This is a standard example. There's lots of them around that will pay you $15 a page. It's about £10 if you've got English as a second language, or $26 a page, let's say £18 or so if you're English as a native language. And they've got some great stats on there. In a 3-month period, they've got people there earning $3,510, $4,750, various other examples. Clearly they're going to be some of the top earners based on that page, but there are people there turning out more than 100 different orders, more than 250 pages. In some cases they're close to 400 pages. So people are turning these assignments around piecemeal, and I think that's one thing that's happened to the detriment of education in the last 10 years is assignments have got more formulaic. The marking schemes have become more structured so that people can just work to them, and once you get good at writing essays, doing assignments, you can turn these around regularly, and this is what's happening by some of these writers. Now, it may surprise you to learn that people are actually desperate to get these jobs, and they have to pass, in a lot of these sites now, some quite tough tests to get accounts as writers because of how they work, and because these sites want good writers, because obviously good writers means happy customers and means more work. So what's happening now is that people are starting to get the accounts set up, and then they are selling them on to people who are desperate to write. So particularly countries like Nigeria here, there's an example of a service that pays slightly less than the one we looked at on the last slide, $10 a page, but that may be good money in many of these countries. And there's quite a few of these Facebook pages, the whole forum set up where people will help each other to get writing jobs and to find out what's needed as well there. On top of that, There are all kinds of downloadable guides there which will tell you how to write a good essay to the standard these companies want, so you don't get a fine for handing in work of a poor quality. There, in fact, I've seen some of these resources helping people to write essays, and they're better standard than the ones that are supplied within universities. So there is a massive business there helping people to cheat, and that's just some of the ways in which the whole marketing has changed and how so many people have got involved, which really is supporting at least that £100 million valuation of these companies. So what do we need to do? I'm not going to do a big what shall we do talk. I've got many of those available on my SlideShare account, on my YouTube channel, on my blog, and in the papers that I've published, but I just want to raise some questions there to really set this 10 years in place. And to me, the changes all come down to marketing. It's come down to the sophisticated campaigns, both online and offline, to get all these different players involved, including the students, the writers, the affiliates, the managers, and the people taking the money. And really, it's like they're pushing themselves to be seen as legitimate. They're a research service. They're providing sample essays for students, or they'll never be sold or used again there. And they're really trying to present legitimate numbers to show people the proof that they're getting a good service as well there. And as academia, we've got to look at what we can do about this, and we've got to look at all the other people who are doing work for students as well, such as a whole network of private tutors, who really is just another funnel into these services. Well, there are people trying to do something about it. There's an attempt to put a bill through Parliament. Marcus Ball, I've been involved with this one there, to ban essay mills. Now, it's somewhere around 1,500 signatures, and it needs 10,000 signatures from people within the UK in order to be properly discussed and to get some feedback from that. Clearly, despite a huge amount of publicity, people just aren't getting on board, and that's what goes back to my idea that cheating here and essay mills are becoming normalised, and people are not looking at them as anything particularly out of the ordinary. But do spread the word about this one, and do think, should we make them legal? What are students doing now that's wrong at the moment, other than getting a degree and a qualification that they don't deserve? And the other underlying question I've been looking at some time is, can we really stress to students the benefits of them completing their own work and gaining the skills they need for the workplace? And it's not going to be easy, because academics don't always make it easy. This is a quote I saw that sums up what I've heard from a lot of academics. I don't want to catch cheaters. There's too much paperwork there, and unless we can tackle that type of attitude and address the unwillingness of academics to take contract cheating seriously, then we're never going to win this battle against the cheats, and we're still going to be in the same position in another 10 years' time with people cheating. I hope you found this presentation useful. There's a whole huge amount more of marketing and more examples that I can share, and many examples I've already made available. There's all kinds of publications in this area. That's the official academic ones. Nowadays I've moved most of my good stuff to more accessible mediums, so there's a lot of talks on SlideShare. Some of these, all of these I'm quite happy to go and give in person for people who are interested, or my updated version of that, but you can see particular examples looking as well now at cheating in tests as well, particular areas like computing, like nursing and health, a big area as well. Even some of the people helping students to cheat, like the Indian workers, are there. If I can be of any help to you, you're more than welcome to get into contact. I'm quite happy to deliver research seminars, teaching seminars, training days. You can see my contact details. Email thomas.lancaster@coventry.ac.uk. You can talk to me on my website and look at the other stuff I've done, including my blog, thomaslancaster.co.uk/blog. And by all means, tweet me at Dr. Lancaster or use the hashtag contract cheating. I'm bound to see it. There's a lot of other material in this area, and I hope that this has really whet your appetite to do something about the problem of contract cheating. We have made progress in the last decade, but it's not quite where I want it to be. I really hope that in another 10 years' time we can say that we have put the issue of